tasks around it. And before we get started, we'll do some introductions. My name is Nate Lampton. I'm Quick Sketch on the internet, and I am a core committer for Backdrop. Let's go to Robert and then to Justin.
I'm Robert Lang, web folder on the internet, coming to you from Altadena.
Thanks, Robert. Justin and then Tim.
I'm Justin Christopherson from Denver, Colorado. I just help out with the infrastructure when I can.
Thanks, Justin. Tim and then Joseph.
My name is Tim Erickson. I'm in Deerwood, Minnesota, St. Paul Tim in the forums, and thinking a lot about Backdrop Live and starting to get ready for that in 2 weeks. And outreach, we've got a quick call out. There's some great outreach discussions. We've got like 30 posts in a forum topic on outreach in the last just several days. So check that out.
Fantastic. Thanks, Tim. Joseph, and then Jen is not available to speak, so we'll skip Jen and go to Andy after Joseph. So Joseph.
Hi, I'm Joseph. I'm from Las Vegas, and I'll probably just be lurking today. So, yeah.
Thanks, Joseph. Andy, and then Attila.
Hi, Andy Schillingford, Doc Wilmot on the issue queues. I'm from the Cayman. I live in the Cayman Islands and don't usually participate on Thursdays, usually at work, but my daughter has COVID, so I'm home babysitting today. But she's fine. She's in there eating ice cream. She's fine.
Excellent. Well, I'm sure she's in good hands. Let's go to Attila and then Olaf, finally.
I am Attila Vasas from Hungary, 45 years old. I usually convert modules. I'm not website builder, but I develop some custom modules of web applications on Drupal 7. Sorry, English language is hard for me, so I'm just listening. But I am here because I delegated a topic about organic groups. Thank you.
Oh, excellent. Excellent. Well, thank you, Attila, and thank you so much for joining this week. Welcome. And finally, Olaf.
Yeah, I'm Olaf from Hamburg in Germany, and let's get started.
Okay, thank you. All right, let's see here. So usually we also give a quick contrib community update. This week looks like we've had 3 new projects released for Backdrop: Email Log, Harris Flexible, which I'm guessing is a layout, and then Markup module. It's awesome to see those new contrib modules coming in. Thanks so much for your work and sharing those things. Let's see. We have a number of things from the forum post. Actually, kind of before I get into that, I want to do general news retroactively, talking about what has happened in the past week. So it was a busy week. If you were around or listened to last week's meeting on the 20th, that was just a couple of days after we had the release of Backdrop 121 on January 15th. We found a pretty bad regression in the release of Backdrop 121 that it was causing menu items to duplicate. And so during last week's meeting, we came up with the plan to get a fix assembled and then make a release of 121 to address that problem on 121.1 on last Friday on the 21st. So the good news is all of that went according to plan. That went really well. We released the new bug fix released and got that version out. We included a fix for the regression, and we included a comprehensive update hook to undo the damage that had been caused by the regression. So big thanks to all of the contributors that worked to get out that that fix so quickly. Really, Indigo Zella carried the torch on getting the regression problem rolled back and then writing the update hook. So thank you very much, Zella, for your work getting that out. Okay, that's the big thing that happened in the past week. We had another release. We can get into the forum posts. There were some items posted this week for discussion. So the first one that we've got here is the question that Attila raised and posted into the forum. The organic groups module is a module that we don't have yet for Backdrop, and there's some attempts at getting it ported because it's a highly important and capable module available for Drupal, and at some point we're going to need that module. The overall question is, how do we or how should we expedite the porting of important contrib modules? And kind of a follow-up to that is, what are the most important contrib modules that have not yet been ported? I'm not sure that I want to take this question directly, but I'm curious if anybody has any thoughts on this topic that they would like to discuss. Jen says that she has an answer in the chat. Tim looks like he's also preparing some comments.
Well, I'll just say that we briefly talked about that survey in terms of identifying the most important modules. Maybe that's something we include in the survey this year is what modules do you want to see ported? That's all I was going to say right now.
That's a great idea. Yeah, with a question of what are the most important contrib modules that have not been ported? Well, maybe we should just ask, what are the most important contrib modules that haven't been ported, and then see what responses come back from a pure popular vote, or even like an informal like Twitter inquiry might not be a bad idea as well. Twitter might be a good place to solicit the initial list, and then we can put that into Twitter plus forum post, put that into an actual survey to collect some results. Let's see. Andy also says we've done well. I think this is going to be a great thing to show. I'll actually pull this up on a screen share. Yeah, this is a great issue, Andy. Thanks for bringing this one up. This was posted all the way back in 2015. This was not too long after Backdrop was first released, actually. And so this is the, how are we doing as far as contrib is concerned? Yeah, media, probably could check that one at this point. I'm not sure if, let's see, ported, in core, or replaced. So it says checked. I think we can check that one. Yeah, this does make it look really good, doesn't it? This is just pretty impressive. But we do have some critical ones here. Drupal Commerce, inline entity form. I know this one is pretty important. Let's see, and the one that we're talking about specifically is groups module, organic groups. So that's down here. I'm guessing that this is sorted by. Yeah, this is sorted by popularity from Drupal. So if you go through the top 100 modules, we're looking at looks like we have maybe 98 or 97 of them.
Nate, inline entity form has been ported.
That's great. But when was it ported?
Oh, I don't know. But I know my dad's been using it on a project.
There it is. Sure
3
enough.
months ago.
All right. Identity form. Okay, somebody else got it. I didn't check that, but someone did. Yeah, doing great overall. Let's see. Looks like we had Peter join us. Welcome, Peter. Okay. Well, great. Let's stop my screen share. Get back to the agenda. I lost it. Yeah. Anyone else have thoughts on this topic of how how can we speed up the porting of important contrib modules?
Olaf?
Yeah, one thought. Am I muted or not? No. Okay. One thought for specifically for organic groups. I guess we need it for the translation server, which is still on Drupal 7, and with end of support for Drupal 7, we have to upgrade to Backdrop, and if we want to have the same functionality, we have to port organic groups. So it could be a task of the community because it's part of our infrastructure.
Yeah, that's a really good point, Olaf. I didn't know that the translation server required organic groups.
I'm a big fan, and I know not everybody works this way, of just making time. So if we sense there's a handful of people that are interested in organic groups to set up a sprint or something on it, I mean, that's, anyways, that's, that's something I would, if I really needed this module and I thought I really needed help on it, is I might reach out to some people that I know are interested in it and schedule if we couldn't schedule a day to work on it. I think doing a session at Backdrop Live on organic groups will be a great opportunity to move it forward. Just keep it on people's agenda. So I think if you really want a module like organic groups and you want to help shepherd it, but you don't have the skills to necessarily port it yourself, just bringing it up at meetings, talking about it at Backdrop Live, maybe help schedule a sprint. These are some things that an individual can do. And I don't know how active we want to be as a community, and maybe organic groups, if it is something that we need, is something we could figure out a way to help with.
Yeah, interesting. And another item that was brought up here from the chat, Tilla posted, porting of organic groups is hung up on a core issue, issue 3646, which is restore configurable actions to core. I will post a comment to this issue separately because I'm curious if what kind of hang up this actually is. There is definitely a change in the way that actions work in Backdrop, that there's no configuration form available for executing an action. It's really just like there's just a callback and like an info hook, I think, is really all there is to it. However, so there's some actions that need to be restored, like display message to user, send email, redirect to URL, change the author of content, unpublishing content containing keywords, publishing content containing keywords, or comments, excuse me. And although we don't have configurable actions in core, there are some actions that have configuration forms still. But what they do is they kind of shim it into place by making the action really just it redirects you to a form and collects the list of nodes or comments into a session variable. So the action actually just stores the list of items that need to be affected, and then it takes you to a form that then says, okay, would you like to execute an action on this list of items? And then submitting the form then loops through the list of items that will receive the action. So it's kind of like a workaround where instead of the bulk operation form having a system for displaying a form inside of it, the action system, as we have it right now, collects a list of IDs. The action itself collects a list of IDs, and it takes you to a standalone form that then executes the action on the list that has been handed to it. So there is a workaround that can provide that kind of functionality, but I absolutely would not oppose having that be more centralized and more part of core functionality. I think that we didn't remove configurable actions intentionally. We did it as a way to get the job done, that we needed to port views module and get that into core. And we simplified and streamlined the action system in order to make that possible, like to make views be used in part of the main content administration pages. So that was a streamlining that was done in the interest of time, not one that was done because that was the best way to do it. So anyway, yes, issue 3646. We can take a look at this and try to see if we can optimize this or make it better. But I think that maybe with some proper information, we might be able to say this isn't really a blocker for organic groups. It's just organic groups may need to do something slightly differently than what it had been doing in the Drupal 7 version. So I'll post a comment there, kind of, because I know that we have something similar in core already. Post a comment as to how we're working around this limitation right now. But I love your idea, Tim, also to make this happen. You know, like if we put a focus on something, we can get things done, you know, and it kind of looks like from the list of popular modules, you know, looking at the most popular modules might not be the best way anymore to say what needs to get done, because we've already gotten pretty much all of the popular modules. But now it might be like a matter of like deciding which ones are giving us the most credibility for like having these things. Like organic groups is one of the most incredibly powerful modules probably ever written for Drupal. And having that as a capability is a really big win for us, even if it's not a popular module. It's a very powerful one, and one that there is no alternative to, no real alternative to, when it comes to when you need to solve this particular problem. I think I had this discussion once about access control modules, you know, taxonomy, access control, TAC light, access by role, access by node, all of these different things. In the end, you always end up on organic groups. Like you can design your site with this whole plan to use a different access control module, but in the end, you always end up on organic groups. Like ultimately, it's like some kind of yeah, it's like a weird truthism about access control modules.
I saw that there was this other module called group module. I don't know anything about either organic groups or group module. It doesn't compare. Does it not compare at all? The group module?
It does. It group. Well, I don't know what the group module is for Backdrop, but in the world of Drupal, organic groups was renamed to simply group module in Drupal 8 and higher, and that's the kind of the rebuilt version of it for Drupal. And I don't know if we have a group module for Backdrop, what its relationship is to the Drupal version.
Can I just inject? There was a group module for Drupal 7, and to me, it was sort of the Drupal commerce to UberCart. That the group module had that. It was like trying to rebuild organic groups using more entity. I think using more entity-based stuff, and it was meant to be like the next generation of group modules. And I've actually used that more than I've used organic groups. Is the group module in Drupal 7. And yeah, and I think that maybe organic groups just didn't get the port to Drupal 8. But to me, they were competitors, not necessarily a successor or competing modules. It could be that the two communities united in Drupal 8.
I see. I got it. Okay. I have my history mixed up then.
Turns out that I actually ported group module. I didn't remember
that. If you had a list of modules, then you'd know that.
So I just posted to it. Yeah. Didn't need it, just thought I'd try it. Yeah.
Olaf, do you have anything to add? Looks like you're preparing to speak.
Well, personally, I have maybe a problem or a question about how reliable we can say if a module like organic groups can be ported within the Drupal 7 area. Because, for example, I have at least 2 sites which rely on organic groups, Drupal 7 sites. And now's the time for the client to decide if to upgrade to Backdrop CMS or to look for another solution. And well, as said, there is some activity importing organic groups, but it's not sure. So, but they have to decide more or less now or in the next months what to do. And so I know I can't get a guarantee here, but it would be interesting for me to, yes, to however, yeah, how do I say, to evaluate the options. And yeah, I don't know how to handle that. I could even ask them if they are willing to sponsor a part of that, because I don't have the skills to, I can test and so on, but can't write the code. And yeah, so that's, I would be interested if it's realistic to have a port when D7 is end of license or not.
Yeah, I think you've got it right there, Olaf. What we need is the intersection of someone that needs it plus has the capability of doing it. And I think that efforts to sprint it, I think would work for the initial porting, probably, that we would be able to get the module ported like other modules. I think we probably can do it even though it's a very complex one. I think we probably can still do it within a short amount of time. But we still need that someone that actually needs the module to be a maintainer for it. So there's that aspect as well. Yeah, I don't quite know where to leave this ultimately. I think that we're all kind of saying, yeah, we can do it at some point.
Can I just throw in the controversial topic of, like Olaf said, maybe he could get his a client to help sponsor it, but he can't do it. I don't know if we have any clients that could sponsor it on their own, but is there a way, does anybody have any tips? Like if Olaf wanted to find 2 or 3 other people that might each kick in towards creating some sort of a bounty, any tips on how to do that or get it started? I don't know that we're in a position to do that as a community, but we could at least empower folks like Olaf or somebody else. Other people have asked the same question. It's like, if I've got a client who's willing to pay to help do something, how do I do that? And I don't know if there's like some other sites that somebody could use as sort of a fiscal agent and to raise $1,000 to. Any thoughts on that, or is that crazy talk?
I don't think it's crazy at all. I mean, if you remember, years ago we had it wasn't a GoFundMe, but it was through another fundraising site when Backdrop was first started to do an initial fundraising for Backdrop when it first came out, and that netted us several $1,000s that we used for advertising or not advertising but marketing. It funded the initial creation of our logo and our dragon mascot, and our first round of marketing materials, t-shirts, things like that, stickers. So I mean that netted a very real response initially. So yeah, so I don't like using existing platforms like GoFundMe to say, like, hey, I think that we would need to start with having somebody that's actually the volunteer that's going to be doing the work. But yeah, getting paid, that will certainly speed up the process, right? It's a whole different thing if you're getting paid to do something.
The thing with like a GoFundMe, let's say Olaf started a GoFundMe, does that mean he's on the hook to manage the money once it comes in? And I guess that's what I'm sort of getting at is like, how does that work? Has anybody done that before? And I think that might be what frightens some people about like, sure, I could start a GoFundMe, but then once the money's there, now what happens? Am I suddenly liable to, if this module doesn't come out, do I have to cover the difference because I promised all these people? Or
I mean, that all just comes down to, ethics and responsibility, because as contributors to a GoFundMe, there's really not any guarantee that you actually receive the product. I mean, the negative consequence of that, if somebody donated a lot of money and then they didn't receive their thing, that's just the nature of online fundraising platforms, that there's really not much consequence other than to the reputation of the person that didn't deliver the goods. So yeah, I wouldn't say let's rush out and start a GoFundMe because we need to have a plan to actually execute on it. Plus, a well-planned fundraising campaign goes a lot better as far as collecting revenue than one that's just like, I don't really have a plan, but here's what I want. People don't usually give their money to an unplanned fundraiser. So yeah, it's just another, but that's not necessarily the way that this will go either. It's just another option.
We can also ask Larry, because he worked on organic groups for quite a while ago, and then he got stuck. Other things to do, I guess, but maybe he has plans to work again on it in a couple of months. So I'll ask him.
Yeah, great idea, Olaf. Okay, well, the action items that we have for this, at least, like what module should we port, we'll probably do some kind of solicitation about asking people what modules they find are still blocking them from using Backdrop, Twitter and forum, and then put that into survey as well. I think let's transition the topic to the survey. Actually, Tim was talking before the meeting a little bit about doing another annual survey and make it an annual survey. We had a survey done about a year ago that was about what features we should prioritize for the next version of Backdrop. Back then, that was like 1.19, and that survey ended up being kind of a roadmap for the next year of development, that we really did take a look at those survey responses and tried to deliver on the items that were mentioned. I think that it's still up at survey.backdropcms.org. And I think that it would be really excellent if we could revisit that again, turn it into an annual thing, and start using that as our roadmap for 122 and beyond. Our planning session for 122 actually will be coming up here pretty soon. I'm not sure if we should do that as soon as next week, but that would be about when we normally start talking really heavily about the next version of Backdrop and what kind of features we'd like to do. Kind of a brainstorm plus wish list plus action plan meeting. We'll probably do that for the next couple of weeks. Tim, do you have any thoughts or comments about the survey? Any expectation of how much work that is to put together, and if you're willing to be responsible for it?
sure. Well, the big thing is, as soon as we start talking about it, some people in the community have lots of ideas about how to make it better. Doing the same thing we did last time, we could probably pull off pretty quickly, and I could help with. And I think we would try to make it a little better. And I don't know. Yeah, if we wanted to talk about that in this meeting or where, like, how to do it slightly different, I would be hesitant to promise like major changes. There's been a lot of talk. Well, we should incorporate this in. Right now, I actually host this site on my server because the reason this happened was that I just went up and whipped something up quickly as a mock-up and said, hey, what do people think about this? And people said, yeah, that's good enough. Let's go with it. But it is a little bit sloppy. And so Could we do it again in the same kind of format? Yeah. If people start saying, well, let's integrate it with backdrop.org, I think it's going to immediately get bogged down. And we could do that, but it might take a lot longer unless somebody is willing to step up and do the work. So, yeah, happy to sort of reinvigorate, do round 2 in a very similar version than this. Okay. Jen is saying in chat that she has done a little bit of starting the work and to integrate this with backdrop.org, but or I don't know if it would be backdrop.org, but one of our sites. It might be on the forum site. I don't know which site we would. Yeah, the forum. Jen is confirming. So we would probably incorporate this into the forum. I think that's a great idea. I just think it's a much bigger project and not likely to happen really quickly. Whereas in a week or two, I could have this up and running with some small improvements in a version 2.
Olaf, do you have something to add? Okay, sorry. Yeah, Jen is saying over in the forum that she has a start on GitHub integration with Views.json for the forum website. So she has some work in progress there. She wants to schedule some time to get it done before the live. I'm not sure what that. Oh, before Backdrop Live, probably.
Yeah, I think the thing is, Jen, we were talking about doing that much, I think, sooner than that, than live. If we waited till after Backdrop Live, well, we missed most of this release cycle. Well, we might come up with something better. So I don't know. Should we do something quick and simple now, or should we work towards a better solution that puts it off till a month or at least 2 or 3 months down the road?
Okay. All right. Let's see. Next topic we have brought up from the forum again. There's some concern. Alejandro, Archie, Piano raised the issue that a couple of us have had problems with the releases not being packaged or picked up by backdropcms.org this week. However, this was worked around by trashing the release and then re-releasing. After 2 or 3 tries, it seemed to work. Was this discussed in the previous meeting? I thought that I heard some people say a thing or two about that. No? Well, the item that we have, we're aware of the problem now. I think that we already have some progress underway to help mitigate this problem, that we're upgrading backdropcms.org's server to one that is twice as powerful, which should help. Our hosting is provided by Linode. Linode has very graciously donated enough funds for us to easily run backdropcms.org annually. And when we run out of money, my understanding is that we just ask them for more. So very kind of Linode to be our hosting provider. And we need a dedicated hosting provider that has full flexibility, because we run a lot of stuff on backdropcms.org, like the telemetry server, the update server, the news feed, for example. And so there's a lot of domain names or hosts that are all pointed at backdropcms.org that makes it so that using like a shared hosting platform or something like that isn't an option for us. So let's not like try to like reinvent the way that backdropcms.org is running, but we're going to give it a lot more resources, and hopefully that'll help a lot. Separately from that, we also just need to get a better understanding of what's taking up a lot of the resources on backdropcms.org. We've been getting email notifications from our monitoring saying that backdropcms.org is running low on processes every now and then. So it's definitely, there's some problem with backdropcms.org. Just sit tight for the time being. I'm sorry that you may need to re-release packages a couple of times, but we're already looking into this problem.
Do we have some kind of like monitoring on it about like how many requests are going through it or not?
We do have that kind of monitoring. However, it's not very sophisticated. It's let me see, alert. Let me see what software it is. It's something that runs directly on the server, Nagios.
Okay.
But we don't have application level monitoring, you know, like we don't have APM, like New Relic,
Mhm.
or any
Right.
other kind of monitoring software. So while we can see that there's a lot of requests, we don't actually know which requests are specifically causing a problem. So adding better monitoring is also another task that we have for backdropcms.org, which again, it's fortunately mostly a matter of just asking for um, donation of services that could be potentially more capable. And I think that that's
Okay.
the route that I'd like to see us take.
Yeah, I think New Relic is free if you're under a certain amount of data sent to their servers.
Yeah, actually, now that you mention it, you're absolutely correct that New Relic switched their pricing model to like freemium model where it's free to install and set up. So that could help us out. That there's absolutely no blocker on us installing New Relic or something similar, getting it working, and then we could solve the immediate problem right now just on the free tier, and then we could just make a request once we have the account set up to get some credit or to have it be made free for us as an open source project. They're highly supportive of
Right. Yeah.
open source software, so I have no doubt that we would be able to get a free account.
Yeah. We have New Relic on our servers, and I think we're currently using about 1% of the free plan.
Excellent.
So
Yeah,
we have
Jen,
like
Jen is saying
50
over in the
sites.
chat, we don't need any of this to solve the immediate problem, frowny face, but we should do this anyway. Yes. Okay, let's see. So yeah, stand by on that. We're already working on it, on solving that problem. And we don't have Justin here anymore, but he's mostly taking the lead on that that work. Oh, and I'm sorry, that was a smiley face, not a frowny face. Sorry, the chat on Zoom is small. Okay, let's see, other items that I think are newsworthy things that we should at least mention before we close. We added PHP 8.1 support this week. Very exciting. So that has been merged into 1.x and 121. So 121.2, when that comes out, we don't have a timeline for it, but the next bug fix release of Backdrop will include PHP 8.1 support. That's very exciting issue, or very exciting enhancement. It's issue 5398. And so that will be coming in the very next release of Backdrop. Big thanks again, Indigo Zella, for the second time wins MVP of the week for having put together PHP 8.1 support and getting that patch fully put together and tested. We're now running testing on PHP 8.1, so we have testing running on PHP 5, 7, and 8, all three of them being the newest versions for 7 and 8, and the oldest version for 5, which brings me to the next topic, and that is increasing the minimum PHP version from 5.3, which is our current version that we require, to 5.6. So that issue is issue 3992. We came up with the plan a couple of months ago that the next version of Backdrop that will be coming out in May 15th, will increase the minimum PHP version. There's a blog post that's out. We tweeted about it. And we put into the 121 version a status report error. If you're running any older version of PHP, the status report now throws an error saying you must upgrade your PHP because the next version of Backdrop will no longer support these older versions. That you only see the error if you're running an old version of PHP. But that gives you the red dot in the status bar and throws the error on the status report. So hopefully that's enough visibility to give everybody enough of a heads up. 5.6 is still a really old version of PHP, but we chose that number or that version of PHP basically because it was very low controversy. Like increasing to PHP 7 is possibly controversial, and then you have to choose which version of PHP 7 you want to get to. So we had nobody resist the bump to PHP 5.6, which is now why we're choosing to bump to that version. So issue 3992 is that issue. We haven't yet actually merged the bump into 1.x, but we should. So that should be coming very soon. That will officially move the minimum version from 5.3 to 5.6. We'll increase that constant backdrop minimum PHP, I think it's called, to 5.6. And then we'll also bump the automated testing to move it from 5.3 up to 5.6. So that's coming down the road. It's very nice to finally say goodbye to one of those ancient versions of PHP. And that's going once we do that change, it's going to raise a whole slew of new questions for us because even though 5.6 doesn't have all the bells and whistles of PHP 7 or 8, it does include the short array syntax, which could be a complete game changer for the way that we write and support code in Backdrop. The short array syntax brings PHP in line with a lot of other languages like JavaScript in particular, that you can use the square brackets to instantiate a new array. And I think everybody is aware that arrays are used absolutely everywhere in Backdrop, specifically because of the render API and the form API. And so that could change the way that we write code pretty substantially. So we'll need to start having some discussions about when we want to start using the short array syntax and some policy around like converting existing stuff. Yeah, so that's coming up. Does anyone, let's see. I guess actually that's the end of the agenda that I have for today. So I'll just kind of open the floor if anybody has any additional thoughts on the PHP version bump in particular, or just any other thoughts about some things they'd like to bring up for the next couple of minutes before we close. All right, Tim.
If nobody has anything else, I mentioned at the end of last week that we do have weekly office hours Wilbur's been hosting. They've been going pretty smoothly. Nate, I think we might have clashed with you on a meeting yesterday, which is okay. We're thinking maybe we'll switch office hours to Jitsi just because there's no reason we can't, and it might make your life easier. So starting next week, I mean, I think Wilbur's already done it. He's already sort of set up a Jitsi room and created a URL. So there's no action on that necessary. But in the outreach meeting last week, I think we talked about making the first office hours of each month another sort of upgrade day, focusing on upgrades and promoting it as a chance for people to come and ask questions about upgrade. We had some success with an upgrade day back in November, where we tried to go a whole day. We had like 10 people show up over the course of a day. I think Jen did a little session, a demo on doing the upgrade process. A number of the people who showed up were new folks who sort of showed up with questions. So we want to try that. The next one would be next Wednesday. So next Wednesday, upgrade day. I forget the other times, but it's 1 to 3 Central. I think we might extend it a couple of hours in case people want to hang around and work on their upgrades. But I think we'll start at the normal time. What I would really love is for somebody to do a bit of a demo or a presentation. You know, even if it's just, you know, somebody that we can say at a certain time, this person's going to be there to answer formal questions. I don't know, maybe we could do a quick demo. Jen did that last time. I don't know if anybody else feels like they could do that and would be willing. Please let me know. Okay, otherwise feel free to drop in and just hang out and work on an upgrade or answer questions or just chat with us. we've had different people showing up every week. We had 4 or 5 people last week, the week before. I don't know if you heard this, Nate, but like Les Lim and Kevin, Raymond, and we had a couple of people we hadn't heard from for a long time that just dropped into office hours and said hi.
Yeah, wonderful. Yeah, like kind of a lower stakes version of these weekly meetings because it's not recorded, it's not broadcasted. It's just like
Yeah.
almost even like a social hour, really. And plus, you also can ask your questions about Backdrop, of course.
Yeah, and sometimes we just sit there and sort of co-work. We're all working on our individual Backdrop projects, so it's not like for the 2 hours there's a conversation the entire time. You can just sort of come, leave the channel open, hang out, and then if you have a question, there's other people there you can ask.
Excellent. Okay, well, what's the best place to coordinate for that meeting, Tim? Is that probably over Zulip?
Sure. Wilbur has been creating dates on backdrop.org on the schedule, the calendar. There is an event every week. So if you're just looking for the link and you don't remember, just go to the calendar on backdrop.org, or it's events, I think, right? But if you
oh, I
in terms
see.
of-
Okay. Under backdropcms.org, under the news menu item, there's one called events, and the office hours is right up there at the top. And there's also
Exactly.
the link to the full calendar if you want to subscribe to the Backdrop calendar and put it into your calendaring software. Then the office hours show up that way too.
So just to get information, that's the easiest way. But if you want to like volunteer to do a presentation, Zulip would be the place to talk. Yeah.
All right, excellent. Well, we're at the top of the hour. This is normally when we need to close. So thank you, everyone, for joining the meeting. Great work again this week. I'm really happy with our release of 121.1, getting that problem buttoned up very quickly. Our velocity as far as Backdrop core is still very high. That version of 8.1, getting that in, that's a huge accomplishment for us or achievement. And the RTBC queue still is, I'm struggling to keep on top of it. So maybe a little request from other core committers to also be helping there. Although Peter, who is a core committer here, thank you. I saw that you were merging things, so I'm not trying to call anyone out, but our community is outpacing the rate that our core committers can look through everything, which is a wonderful problem to have. But we'll try to keep up with it. So anyway, that's it. Thank you all so much, and we will talk to you again next week. Goodbye.